Hel, Loki's offspring. Hel, goddess of death, was the daughter of Loki, the god of evil, and of the giantess Angur-boda, the portender of ill. She came into the world in a dark cave in Jotun-heim, together with the serpent Jormungandr and the terrible Fenris wolf, the trio being considered as emblems of pain, sin, and death. Now Loki comes, cause of all ill. Men and Aesir curse him still. Long shall the gods deplore, even till time be o'er, his base fraud on Asgard's hill, while deep in Jotun-heim most fell are Fenrir's serpent and dread Hel, pain, sin, and death his children three, brought up and cherished. Through them he, tormentor of the world, shall be. Valhalla by J.C. Jones. In due time, Odin became aware of the terrible brood which Loki was cherishing, and resolved, as we have already seen, to banish them from the face of the earth. The serpent was therefore cast into the sea, where his writhing was supposed to cause the most terrible tempests. The wolf Fenris was secured in chains, thanks to the dauntless Tyr, and Hel or Hela, the goddess of death, was hurled into the depths of Nifl-heim, where Odin gave her power over 9 worlds. Hela into Nifl-heim thou threwest, and gavest her 9 unlighted worlds to rule, a queen and empire over all the dead. Balder Dead by Matthew Arnold. Hel's kingdom in Nifl-heim. This realm, which was supposed to be situated under the earth, could only be entered by a painful journey over the roughest roads in the cold, dark regions of the extreme north. The gate was so far from all human abode that even Hermod the Swift, mounted upon Sleipnir, had to journey 9 long nights ere he reached the river Giol. This formed the boundary of Nifl-heim, over which was thrown a bridge of crystal arched with gold, hung on a single hair, and constantly guarded by the grim skeleton Modgud, who made every spirit pay a toll of blood ere she should allow it to pass. The bridge of glass hung on a hair, thrown o'er the river terrible, the Giol boundary of Hel. Now here the maiden of Modgud stood, waiting to take the toll of blood, a maiden horrible to sight, fleshless, with shroud and pall bedight. Valhalla by J.C. Jones. The spirits generally rode or drove across this bridge on the horses or in the wagons which had been burned upon the funeral pyre with the dead to serve that purpose. And the northern races were very careful to bind upon the feet of the departed a specially strong pair of shoes, called hell shoes, that they might not suffer during the long journey over the roads. Soon after the Gjallar bridge was passed, the spirit reached the iron wood, where stood none but bare and iron-leaf trees, and, passing through it, reached the Hell Gate, beside which the fierce, blood-stained dog, Garm, kept watch, cowering in a dark hole known as the Gnippa Cave. This monster's rage could only be appeased by the offering of a hell cake, which never failed those who had ever given bread to the needy. Loud bays Garm before the Gnippa Cave. Seaman Zeta, Thorpe's translation. Within the gate, amid the intense cold and impenetrable darkness, was heard the seething of the great cauldron Hvergelmir, the rolling of the glaciers in the Alivagar, and other streams of hell, among which were the Leipter, by which solemn oaths were sworn, and the Slid, in whose turbid waters naked swords continuously rolled. Further on this gruesome place was Elvidnir, or Misery, the hall of the goddess Hel, whose dish was hunger, her knife was greed. Idleness was the name of her man, sloth of her maid, ruin of her threshold, sorrow of her bed, and conflagration of her curtains. Elvidnir was Hela's hall, iron-barred with massive wall. Horrible that palace tall, hunger was her table bare, waste her knife, her bed, sharp care. Burning anguish spread her feast, bleached bones arrayed each guest. Plague and famine sang their runes, mingled with despair's harsh tunes. Misery and agony e'er in hell's abode shall be. Valhalla by J.C. Jones. The goddess had many different abodes for the guests who daily came to her, for she received not only perjurers and criminals of all kinds, but also those who were unfortunate enough to die without shedding blood. To her realm also were consigned to those who died of old age or disease, a mode of decease which was contemptuously called straw death, as the beds of the people were generally of that material. Tempered hard by frost, tempest and toil their nerves, the sons of those whose only terror was a bloodless death. By Thompson. So those were Loki's Offspring and Hel's Kingdom in Nifl-heim, the first sections of Chapter 19 of Myths of the Norsemen by Helene A Guerber, Hel. I will be working my way through this book section by section, and if there are any other public domain books that you would like for me to read, please leave a comment below. Did you enjoy this video? Then subscribe for more, and be sure to check me out on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. Thank you for listening, and have a lovely evening.